Hi everyone, and welcome to French Avenir. This French series, we're gonna start by covering the grammar. I'm gonna cover all the French grammar in just under 5 hours. So bear with me, this is gonna be overwhelming, but I advise you to segment that, but also follow the week regiment so you don't fall back, because next week we're gonna start reading some literature, and then the week after that we're gonna be heading towards movies. This is gonna be the smallest part, the grammar, and we're just gonna be exposing you guys to the grammar at once. So you don't have to sweat up, you don't have to memorize anything, you just have to sit back and relax and enjoy the presentation. And this is the only French resource out there on the planet that will give you the entire French grammar under 5 hours, because if you were to take French in school and university, you'll spend almost 10 years doing what we're gonna be doing in those 5 hours. Think of this as like going to a new planet. You don't know what the fruits of the planet are, and someone comes to you with a fruit basket and shows you the fruits. This is exactly what we're doing with the grammar here. We're trying to expose you guys to the colors of those fruits, the shapes of them, so that you have a reference point. But then later on, when we read the story, Candide, funny story, and I'll walk you through it chapter by chapter. It's also short, and then during those literature and movies, we're gonna taste and have a feel of those fruits. And then you will know what we have been talking about. English has borrowed so many words from French, and you can use at your advantage to improvise some French, but I wouldn't really rely on it, because each different language has its own history, culture, and diction and style. And we find that many English words don't necessarily mean the same French words, and vice versa. So let's start with the letters of the alphabets. A for une abeille, B for une bicyclette, C for un cadeau, D for un dinosaure, E for un éléphant, F for une fleur, G for un grenouille, H for une horloge, I for un igloo, G for un jambon, K for un koala, L for une lampe, M for une maison, N for un nid, O for une orange, P for un pieuvre, Q for une queue, R for un robot, S for un serpent, T for une table, U for une usine, V for un violon, W for un wagon, X for un xylophone, Y for un yacht, and Z for un zèbre. And also in French we have accent aigu and accent grave. Accent aigu is pronounced similar to E, and accent grave is similar to douce, E, something like that. But you will find examples as we move on. And then we have the cédille, which is pronounced as C, because the C in French is S. And the 6 vowels are the same in French as they are in English.
0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9, 10, 10, 11, 11, 12, 12, 13, 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21, 21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25, 25, 26, 26, 27, 27, 28, 28, 29, 29, 30, 30, 31, 31, 32, 32.
So as you have seen that starting from 20 on, if you only know the le dessin, the tens, you will be able to just know how to say all the numbers. For example, if you know 20 is for 20, you know that from 20 to 30, which is 30, it's going to be 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, etc. So here I have put to you one of the tables for your reference. We have these for 10, 20 for 20, 30 for 30, 40 for 40, 50 for 50, 60 for 60, and 100 is 100, 70 is 70, and 80 is 80, 9 is 90. So what does a phrase in French comprise of? It has a subject, verb, and a complement. For example, je suis Canadien. The je is I, is subject, verb is am, so I am Canadian. And Canadian is a complement. And then subject to you, verb habite, live en France, in France. So we will cover all the subjects and verb and complements as we move on. So what kinds of modes and tone we have in français? We have the indicative, imperative, conditional, and subjunctive. Subjunctive is something you will have to get used to as you will see later. As for the tone, we have present, past, and future. And there are some variations on those as well, but we'll cover that soon. So one of the most famous French verbs is going to be être. The second one is going to be avoir. For être, to conjugate être, to be, you say je suis, I am. Tu es, you are. Il, elle est. He, she is. Nous sommes. Vous êtes. Ils, elles sont. And some examples are going to be quelle est votre nationalité? What is your nationality? Je suis française. I am French. And don't really mind the structures of the questions. We're going to cover that soon as well. Quel est votre nom de famille? C'est Macron. And here we have joined the c'est with e because both of them are vowels, and when two vowels come together, we put an apostrophe. Separate them. Quelle est votre profession? Je suis directrice. And then avoir, the second verb. So the two important verbs are going to be être and avoir. Être, to be, avoir, to have. J'ai, I have. Tu as, you have. Il, elle a. He, she has. Nous avons. We have, vous avez, you have. Ils, elles ont, they have. J'ai envie d'acheter une maison à Montréal. And I've actually deliberately put here a very hard phrase because I would like you again to get familiar with everything that is in French and just this video series that is gonna be 1 week long. So j'ai envie d'acheter une maison à Montréal. I desire to buy a home in Montreal. J'ai besoin d'un peu d'amour. I need a little bit of love. And j'ai envie, j'ai besoin, j'ai un âge, those are all expressions to have with avoir, but those are not really concrete examples of avoir. We can just say j'ai une maison, I have a home. J'ai un cellulaire, I have a phone. But those are expressions that are used with avoir, where you put envie after avoir, besoin after avoir. Envie to say I desire, besoin I need. J'ai 25 ans to say I am 25 years old. Tu as l'air de tutoyer. You look like you are bored. Nous avons faim. We are hungry. Vous avez raison, monsieur. You are right. So those are really the most common avoir expressions, but really those are not concrete examples of avoir. I just put them there to familiarize yourself with avoir uses. And here, the last example is where you have a concrete example. Elles ont une fête chez elles. They have a party in their house. And we say chez moi to say my house, chez toi your house, and so on. So let's go on and conjugate regular verbs and distinguish them from irregular verbs, because in French, in the present tense, and this is the first tense we're going to cover, we have regular verbs and irregular verbs. Irregular verbs end with ER, IR, and RE. So with ER, the endings are gonna be ES, ONS, EZ, and ENT. And for example, is manger, to eat. Je mange. So you take out the ER and you replace them as per this table. And then IR is the same concept, but here we use the verb finir, which ends in IR, and then we just take out the IR and we replace it. And there are some variations on that, but we will cover that later. RE, anything else RE, for example, vendre, to sell. And by the way, finir is to finish, vendre, to sell, and we just replace the RE with the things in this table. So now I'm gonna walk through some of the most important verbs that you will encounter in French, and those verbs are gonna be also handy to conjugate other verbs as well. Like they're gonna be auxiliary verbs. So aller is to go. Je vais à New York. I'm going to New York, or I go to New York. Both of them are in the present tense. So let's conjugate aller. Je vais. Tu vas. Elle va. Nous allons. Vous allez. elles vont. And it's really important to just memorize this as they are. Don't need the reason why I put those verbs here is because I want to show you some of the verbs that are used as auxiliary, as well as those verbs that are irregular in the sense that they end with ER but they're not conjugated as ER verbs. Those are really the most important verbs. And let's walk through examples of ER verbs. So, je mange un gâteau. I eat a gâteau. Nous finissons à 19 heures aujourd'hui. Finish at 7 o'clock today. Elles vendent des voitures. He sells cars. Tu vas chez toi après les cours. You are going to your home after the course. And here, elles vendent des voitures. Why didn't we say he sells cars without the? It's because we are selling partitive. We're not really selling all the cars in the world. We're selling some of the cars of the world, I guess. We'll cover that, we clarify that later as well. Vous allez partir à Paris au bout du mois de mai. You are going to leave to Paris at the end of the month of May. So here, vous allez partir. You are going to leave. What kind of tense does that bring to mind here? That would be the futur proche, the near future. Vous allez partir. And that's why I told you aller is going to be one of those verbs that are going to be auxiliary. It's going to help conjugate other verbs. As you have also observed here, that partir is going to be in its root term, in its indicative form. So we don't have to conjugate it after another conjugated verb. So the second verb is going to be faire, to do. So it's going to be je fais, tu fais, elle fait, nous faisons, vous faites, elles font. And then vouloir, to want, je veux, tu veux, elle veut, nous voulons, vous voulez, elles veulent. And then pouvoir, to can, je peux, tu peux, elle peut, nous pouvons, vous pouvez, elles peuvent. And I suggest you just memorize those verbs because there's really no way around it. And as the more you see of them, the more you actually memorize them without really attempting to memorize them. And it's just a joke. I'll leave it to you to actually figure it out. Well, actually, let's just walk through it. Il y a beaucoup de gens qui devraient s'appeler Kinder vu le nombre de surprises qu'ils nous réservent. There are so many people. Il y a is there is or there are. Il y a beaucoup de gens, there are so many people qui devraient or should be s'appeler called Kinder. Vous, le nombre, seeing the number of surprises that they reserve for us. So s'appeler here is to be called, and this is, as you see here, is a verb that is preceded by an S apostrophe or se, S-E. But apostrophe is because we have two vowels. So s'appeler, as you can see in this verb here, we have S apostrophe or se. So again, whenever you have two vowels, we have to put an apostrophe. Those verbs that have se before them are called reflexive verbs because the action of the verb goes back to you. Like when I say my name is or I am cold, it's going back to me. When I say I sleep, it's going back to me. But even if you don't say I, if the verb is going back to yourself or to herself or to their self, you have to have a reflexive se before it. So yeah, I just add the se, and those verbs are hard-coded se. So you can definitely say appeler, but that would mean to call something else. S'appeler is to call someone. But those verbs, we conjugate them as hardcore reflexive verbs because they are used most commonly as such. So the way you do it is that you conjugate the appeler here as an er verb, and then you conjugate this se independently. So this is an er verb, this is a regular verb. You don't have to worry about knowing how to conjugate it because it's in the table as we covered. And so here, the way you conjugate the s apostrophe is we say for je is me, te for te, elle for se, nous appelons, vous appelez, il s'appelle. And then se lever again, to wake up, because you're the one who's waking up. Je me lève, tu te lèves, elle se lève, nous lèvons, vous levez, elle se lève. Okay, now let's cover the in French. The is denoted by le or la or le. Le here is for masculine, and this is for when you have masculine and a vowel after that. La is for feminine, and le is for masculine or feminine plural. And some example is going to be le chien, l'ordinateur, l'hôtel. Ordinateur is a computer, chien is a dog. Hôtel is a hotel. La famille, l'argent is the money. La habitation, the habitation or the environment. Les chats, the cats, les visages, the faces. And then articles, les articles indéfinis, those are the ones that denote something like an elephant, a cat, something you have no specific indication to. So un is for masculine, une is for feminine, and de is for masculine and feminine plural. Some examples is un ami, un soleil, un livre, une femme, une école, une décision. Des amis, des fils, des gens. Un ami is a friend, un soleil is a sun. I don't know how many suns there are, but apparently there are many because of this indefinite article. Un livre, a book, une femme, a woman, une école, a school, une décision, a decision, des amis, some friends, des filles, some girls, des gens, some young people. And then you have actually realized that we have used some. So some can also be classified under les articles partitifs. So it's something that you can't really have all of or do all of. For example, what we have seen when we sell cars, elles vendent des voitures. Some of the cars, not all of the cars in the world. And the way you construct it is that if you have a masculine, it's going to be de le, which is combined to form de. And then feminine, de la. And then for masculine and feminine, is same de as the indefinite articles. Some examples, je n'ai pas mangé de pommes de terre. I did not eat a potato. And this is a negation. As you have seen here, we have used the avoir, j'ai, but around it we say n'ai pas to negate it. I have not eaten, and this is just the past. I'm just exposing you to the past right now. J'ai mangé de l'asperge. I have eaten asparagus. Hier, j'ai mangé de la ratatouille. Yesterday, I have eaten ratatouille. C'est un plat délicieux. It's a very delicious plate. And bien, je bois du vin. And this is the regular example that you should see, and not the others. as I always try to sprinkle some of the concepts here and there just to give you a head start. So here's je bois du vin. I am drinking wine. And I will show you how to get the conjugations for all the verbs